Mic check 1 2 1 2. Happy Friday, everybody. We are here for an exclusive edition of Fire Friday, and this one might be the hottest edition that we've ever had. We have Nikki Prince here. Nikki Prince has been in the industry for over 15 years. I asked her before how many properties has she sold, and I was like, probably more than 100, right? More than 200, right? And like, too many to count is what you guys need to know. Nikki will end this year being the #1 agent on our team for production. So Nikki, welcome to Fire Friday.
I'm super excited to be with you, Chase. This is going to be so much fun.
I love it. I love it. I want to know, I've known you for about a year and a half now, but you've lived a long life before you met me, and I want to know what that life looks like. Tell me about Nikki before real estate. Tell me about childhood. Tell me about careers. Tell me about the lessons you learned along the way, which maybe led you to the position you're in today.
I love that you actually mentioned the fact that I've lived a longer life than you. So yes, I have lived a very long life. The joke on the team is that I like to call myself the dinosaur because I am I think I am the oldest agent that we have. But before I came to Florida, I was a Chicago girl. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago. I love it. I love Chicago. I love everything about it, the culture, the food, the family. I grew up with one sister. She is and forever will be my very best friend. Our parents were divorced when we were little, so we grew up with a single mom. Part of the reason I am who I am today is because I watched my mom overcome obstacles and be really strong and, kind of have that survivor mentality. We grew up by our grandparents. So I get my sassiness from my grandma Millie. And then my grandpa was, I joke with my sister that to this day, he probably still would be giving us $10 to fill up our gas tanks. So we just had a really strong family. I loved everything about being a child. It was the 80s, the 70s and the 80s. So everybody could age me, but it was simple. Our life was simple. And we just really loved each other and grew up in a very loving environment. After college, I continued my passion for Disney. I worked for the Disney stores, which most people probably don't even know existed, and continued my passion and moved to Florida to work for the mouse. Okay. And I was a Disneyite, and I still am to this day. I love Disney, and that was really what cultivated my love for hospitality. So I took my love for hospitality, worked in hotels for a very long time, was the concierge at the Polynesian resort. So I do the whole shaka and aloha cousin very well. And after I got divorced, I decided to jump into something different. And I figured if I could turn somebody's vacation around from a bad Disney experience because of the Florida weather, how hard could it be to sell real estate? So I kind of took hospitality and I ran with it.
I love it. So hospitality shaped you. Being raised by a single mom raised you. Same here. I have so much respect for my mom because of it. Saw her work through so many obstacles. It's amazing what women can do. I wanted to ask you about making that switch. So you have 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 daughter. And I can imagine it can be kind of a stressful or a hard switch to say, hey, I'm used to getting paid from Disney. I'm used to getting this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly salary check, right? And now I'm going to go into an industry where I have to bet on myself, an industry that is very volatile. It's commission-based, right? Bobby Davidowitz always tells me that you need to you'll work your butt off for a chance to make money. And so how hard was that switch knowing that you have 3 kids at home who are, who are looking for you to put food on the table, but not only food on the table, but, playing sports, paying for medical bills? Like, how stressful was it to make that switch? And when did you decide, hey, I got to go all in on this?
Well, I co-parented for many years with their dad. So that made the transition a little bit easier because he did, help financially with some of that aspect. But, I basically wanted to teach my kids a lesson in life. And, if they can't look to me as being a role model, then I'm really not doing a good job. If you can't bet on yourself, who are you going to bet on? So this industry doesn't scare me. I know what I'm capable of. I know my hustle. I know how hard I could work. And my kids see that day in and day out. True story is that I didn't realize how much my kids understood. I've told you this before. I didn't realize how much my kids understood. When I got into real estate, they're 23, almost 21 and 19 now. They were, I want to say 6, 8, and 10. I don't know. But I didn't realize till recently when my 19-year-old is having conversations about helping with inspections and knowing how to handle appraisal issues, that they learned a business just by basically being around. And, real estate afforded me the ability to still be a mom.
I love that.
I went to everything. I never missed anything. I drove them to school every day. So it was just perfect for me. And I started off as an assistant and a transaction coordinator and was just super lucky. Looking back, when I started so many years ago, some of the top names in real estate right now are people that I knew, I learned from, and they were in the office all the time. And what a blessing. Like, I was so fortunate that I got to learn from so many different people.
I love that. Ed Milet, who is somebody I admire, he always talks about as a parent, your kids, he says it's caught, not taught. Mm-hmm. If your kids catch you doing something, catch you betting on yourself, it's a much better example. That's what sticks with them, rather than you saying, hey, don't give up on your dreams. Don't be afraid to bet up on yourself. But then they look at you and say, Mom, did you bet on yourself? Mm-hmm. And you're a walking example of somebody who did bet on themselves. And I'm sure it gives them a lot of confidence of like, hey, if Mom can do it, we can do it too. Right. And you talked about learning from the best in the industry, right? I know you've been a part of different brokerages, different teams. I've always wanted to know this. Keller Williams, you've been a part of, Robert Slack, you've been a part of, and now since July of last year, you've been Figueroa Team. Right. And you've sold properties at all of them. So I want to know, was it easy for you to be content where you were at, knowing you were selling an amazing amount of properties? And what made you want to say, hey, even though I'm selling a bunch of properties here, I want something different? And what led you to make the decision to ultimately end up here?
So I get that a lot, especially from a lot of successful friends and colleagues that I have in the industry that are really successful single agents that have been at the same place that they've been for years, and they don't like to make change. And change doesn't scare me. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of change, but I am a team girl. I was captain of the dance team in high school. So I am all about team. Like, I'm a team girl. And I love the team. I love leveraging. And I follow leadership. So to me, it's not necessarily always about where I'm going to get a better split, where I'm going to get more leads, or, what the systems are going to look like, follow up, boss, sync, all those. It basically just matters on who I'm following and who I'm partnering with. So my decision last year was to come with Veronica. It wasn't necessarily, I like the EXP model, what it stands for, but I was content where I was. And, I knew that I had already reached a plateau, and I had, there wasn't much growth there for me. And Veronica always said, there's a seat at the table when you want it. And I called her up and I was like, hey, is that seat available? And she was like, come meet with us. So we started talking about it months before I actually made the move.
I like it. Do you feel like at this point, 15 years in, over 100 and something properties sold, that you've kind of mastered your craft at this point? And if so, what gives you fulfillment now?
I don't want to say mastered anything, because you've seen how non-techie I am. I think that this industry is evolving and we're changing. And if I'm not going to follow the people right now who know what to do, then I'm going to be lost in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. I really, truly, and this doesn't sound, I hope it sounds sincere, but I truly love this team. So when you ask me what fulfills me is, not my numbers on the leaderboard, not, the perks that I get for being one of the top agents, but I really do love watching us succeed as a group and as a whole. Mm-hmm. It's just so rewarding to me, because I've already done pretty much what I tried to accomplish.
Right. Right. Yeah, I always think about that. Like, what's next? I know for me, I didn't sell as many properties for you, but once I kind of like felt like I did it, I was like, okay, what's next?
Mhm.
All right, I did the agent side. Okay, let me go work for a builder. All right, I did working for a builder. How can I be a coach? How can I be a director? And you always want to find what's next. And I feel like it's always a different fulfillment, but it
Mhm.
kind of goes back to the core value of like, hey, I want to see and help somebody with growth. Right. So for you is, hey, helping somebody with when they're making one of the biggest purchases of their life, you still get that fulfillment, but now it's more so seeing an agent help somebody make the biggest purchase of their life. Is that kind of where you're at now?
Well, yeah, because I'm old or older. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to know what my next step is? Retire. Like, can I
Okay.
retire soon? I'll be at the beach. You can come visit me at the beach, Chase. I'll be there. You'll have your little toddlers. You and Jazz will be married with like 2 toddlers. You'll be like, hey, Auntie Nikki, can we come park at your place? Sure. But yeah, it's training up the new generation who's going to come in. It's kind of passing the torch. It's making sure everybody, this industry always evolves. It's always changing, but it's still simple. Like you have
Yeah.
to always maintain the basics. And you and I talk about this all the time when you ask me what it is that I do different. It's that I still do the driveway consultation. I still get in front of people. I'm not afraid of the phone. I'm not afraid of texting, but I like to get in front of the people. So if I don't start sharing my craft and sharing my knowledge and sharing what I've learned, because so many people shared it with me for so many years, then I'm really not doing anybody any help.
It's a pay it forward type of method,
That's how I
right? You
live.
owe it. And then I almost like, this kind of matches up with the next question I wanted to ask. And I think that it has a big impact on what you're talking about. And there's a myth ever since I got into real estate of like the blandness of real estate and how you can never really be you, right? What do they tell you? Hey, don't ever talk about religion. You're somebody that's big in your faith. Don't ever talk about politics, right? You're big in representing your party. And so does that, because I almost feel like what you're saying, you have this mindset, I just need to serve, and that comes probably back to your faith. Do you ever feel like your faith and what you believe in and that myth of like, hey, you can't talk about that in real estate is BS? And do you almost feel like it's helped you propel or progress in your career of being 100% in your faith and marketing it and letting people know like, hey, this is who I am and being you? Do you feel like
Right.
that's helped your career, or do you ever run into a situation where you don't gel with somebody? I would love to hear about that.
Okay, years ago, I would have told you that it could have hurt my career.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm in a position where if me being me, because I feel I'm authentic, like I am who I am, whether you like me, you don't like me. I'm gonna always praise God first and foremost for everything that I have. And you're right, I am going to, in comfortable situations where I know that the other people either share my political views, I am going to share and express my political views. But I look at it this way: if they don't want to work with me because of my political views, or they don't want to work with me because of my devotion to my God, then I may not want to work with them. And right now, I could find you somebody else. Listen, if you don't want to work with me because I'm a Christian and I may have said something that isn't in line with your beliefs, then we're not a right fit. And I'll find you somebody else either on the team or on a different team that's going to be great for you. So it's sort of like in my career, it's picking and choosing who I also want to work with a little bit.
I love that. I think when people first get their license, they become somewhat of a telemarketer in their first year, their second year, right? You're dialing, always trying to build your database. And I think you've done this long enough where you have people coming to you, right? You have people choosing to work with you because they had a great experience. What was the point where you felt like you could, I guess, pick and choose? Because did it happen in the first year? Have you always been like that? Or was it like, hey, I've got a few transactions under my belt. I've got a few past clients that love me. Or maybe I went through a stressful situation with a buyer where now I can say, hey, I only want to work with people that want to work with me. At what point did that hit for you?
I think I've always been like that.
Okay.
Like if you're not enjoying this job and you're not enjoying what you're doing and it doesn't bring you joy, why do you want to be miserable? So I'm not saying I pick and like, I've worked with difficult people, a lot of them. I've worked with people that probably at the end of the transaction, I didn't want to see them again. They didn't want to see me again. And it was mutual. But it's never really been about personalities. People are going to work with you because they like you, they know you, or they trust you. So if I don't have your trust and you don't like me, I've always kind of been like that. Like, let's just part ways and walk away. I think it's a good thing, especially in our industry. It's a good thing. Because if they're not trusting you off the bat, we're helping them make the biggest purchase of their life.
Yeah, 100%. Like it's a benefit for everybody because they're not going to have a good experience if you guys are not meshing, right? So for any agent that's out there, don't be greedy. If you have somebody and you guys are not a fit, get rid of them.
Move
I'm
on.
not saying on the block, but at least point them in the right direction for somebody who's a good fit because it's benefiting everybody at the end of the day. You do let go. Another thing I want to talk about, and maybe the last thing to talk about, is focus. I was telling Harold in the office how I'm always bouncing around. And one thing that's helped me is I bought this supplement called Alpha Brain. It's what Joe Rogan uses that helps him focus. And I really think focus is huge. And if you can just stay locked into something, despite all the distractions that are out there, it's really what makes people special at the end of the day. And being a business owner, there's a saying that your personal life is always going to slip into your business. You've had some tough moments, and yet it doesn't seem to affect your business. So talk about that. Talk about holding it together and staying focused despite the things that may be going on in your personal life. How do you do it? How do you stay focused? Is it kind of a distraction for you? I want to hear more about that.
So I know we both know what you're talking about. And most people, I've been an open book about it, but my longtime partner, significant other, took his life at the end of September. A lot of people asked me how I kept going and how I stayed focused on my job. I had a choice. I couldn't necessarily stop living. I had to keep living and I had to keep going. But in full transparency, and to be perfectly honest, it wasn't my own drive that kept me going. It was you guys. It was the fact that I knew that I had Veronica supporting me. I had Eric, I had Harold, I had Ella, I had you. I had a team behind me that wasn't going to let me fall flat on my face. And I remember sitting here the day I texted you and Harold and I said, I'm coming back. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do. And I don't think if it's the wrong thing to do, but I know that there's no manual for what I'm doing. And I came into the office and it was probably one of the most packed days ever. And people could say what they want about being on a team, but this team is my family. And agents that we have that don't come to the office frequently came to the office because they knew that I needed the support. So I went through something terrible, but I had the people who love me and who care about me backing me up. And, the words that Veronica said is, we're going to get you through this. And we did. So I don't know if I held it together as much as you guys held me together. And that was kind of my driving force. But, everything in life is about trusting God and putting one foot in front of the other. And if you truly live every day just believing that God has a plan for you, and we may not always know, we don't always know what the outcome is going to be. And we don't know what his predetermined plan is for our lives. But if you have trust and you have faith and you just keep proceeding forward, doing what God intends for you to do, then we all succeed.
I like that. There's a few phrases and words that I hear from you a lot on this, and it's leadership, it's growth, it's faith. We should just name the Fire Friday that. That should be I love that. And so thank you, Nikki, for this. I appreciate you. It's always a pleasure to work with you. I'm happy that I get to be a part of the organization you're referring to, the team you're referring to, the family you're referring to. This was an amazing Fire Friday. Thank you so much. That's it. Any last words?
I adore you, Chase Greene. And I tell you this all the time, that in 25 years, when you're doing amazing things and you're speaking on big stages, I'm going to be in the front row.
I can't wait to see it. I'll shout
I
you
might
out.
be in a walker, but I'll be there.
Thank you so much.